Hello, welcome to Catherine's Corner. Today we're going to be making peach pie. We are using a Bettey Crocker recipe from the Bettey Crocker recipe book. You can get that online. This is the ingredients that we're going to be doing in the recipe. And the front of the book looks like this. And there we go. We have gone to a farm to pick the peaches, and they taught us that if the whole peach is red, then it's ripe. So we picked a bunch of peaches for the pie, and they're called white peaches, and they're really small. And we went to Area You Pick Farm, located at 25221 Marsh Creek Road, Brentwood, California. I did want to tell you how they spell Airaya, A-I-R-A-Y-A, You Pick Farms.
Oh, and trivia fact, it's actually organic, even though it doesn't say that online.
Yeah, they're practically organic. They just didn't want to have to pay the extra money to classify as organic. But he said that most of their stuff is probably 99% organic.
Otherwise the state will tax them heavily.
Organic cane sugar, 2/3 cup. Alright. Okay, and we are using Organics unbleached all-purpose flour, 1/3 cup. Organics ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon. The peaches, I tried taking the pit out by cutting them in half, but these wouldn't work that way, so I'm just going to try to cut the edges off. There's a few pieces where I may have gotten some bruise. I just cut it off and put it off to the side.
I'm going to do about, 6 cups of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Got a bowl full. You're supposed to have 6 to 8 cups, but I'm just going to do a bowl full today, so I might just minimize the ingredients, or the dough, not the ingredients. I'm going to keep the ingredients the same, but maybe I'll do less dough. We'll see. So I have chopped the butter, and I'm going to sprinkle it over the apples.
Peaches.
I'm sorry, peaches. They're red, so they kind of look.
The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Organics lemon juice. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon. There we go. Get the pie crust ready. You can do the pie crust first, but I just want to get these ingredients together. Okay, so I'm just using a spoon and mixing this all together, the dry ingredients with the peaches. And just make sure you get it all nicely mixed. And make sure you get down at the bottom where the dry ingredients like to hide. Okay, so now we're going to make the pastry for the pie crust. And we're going to use Bettey Crocker again, the 2-crust pie 9-inch recipe on page 123. And we don't have a pastry blender, but we do have a blender, so I'm going to see if this works. If not, we'll put it in the KitchenAid and hope for the best. Okay, so now we're going to get 2 cups of flour. I've got 1. too. Okay. So we've added the flour and salt to the bowl, and I just added some of the shortening. I'm going to gradually add shortening in, and I'm using the bowl with a dough mixer because that's all we have. We don't have a flour mixer blender. Seems to be working great, even though we didn't have the machine that they asked for. And once this goes through for a little bit, then I'll add the last third. Feel free to take the bowl off and use a spoon to get the edges. Trying to use up the last of our shortening. There we go. Here we go. I'm just going to put the last bit in. Switch the hook out for a metal whipper, a metal mixer, excuse me, just to try to get the edges around because the dough hook wasn't reaching the edges. I'm just going to let that run for a bit, and then I'm going to start kneading it with my hand.
425, right?
Okay, so I've got my 9-inch pan. I've set the temperature to the oven to 425. I've put some avocado oil in the pan, and I got the sides and the top as well. In a few moments, when the mixer's done mixing, I will start kneading it with my hands. And it turns out that using the metal mixer is really working great. You can see down in there it's really getting it together. I just let it run for about 5 minutes. Now the dough is done, the pie crust. It came out pretty good. I ended up not adding any water to it. It says to make it into a ball. It also says you need saran wrap on the rolling pin.
Why do you...
And I don't have any, so I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah, I don't know why you need saran wrap.
To keep it from sticking.
Oh.
Okay, so it says to cut it in half. One is for the bottom of the pie crust, and the other is for the top.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to put this one off to the side, and ball this up, and I'm going to see if I can't do this. Okay, so we're doing a 9-inch. I'm going to see if I can't do this without the saran wrap. I do have some Ziplocs in case of an emergency. It does look like it is sticking a little. You want to get it right there where the 9 mark is, so this circle right here. And just kind of ease it as you go along. Once you get one side there, just kind of come back around and move it around. Got a piece sticking.
Whoops.
That's alright, I can get it back together. This stuff is pretty
It's sticky.
movable.
It's sticky, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like Play-Doh, but much softer. So if you accidentally mess up, you can still adjust it. If you get stuck to your pen, just do like that. Okay, just trying to get it out to the 9. That one went too far. I think it did want it a little bit wider than the 9 so it could go off the edge actually. So I'm going to bring it out to the 10. And it's okay if you accidentally mess up. We can patch it up in the pie crust. Okay, so I had to add lots of flour. I just kept adding flour because that shortening is very difficult to work with. So I had to add maybe a handful and a half to it. I'm going to roll this out a little past 9 inches, if I can. And I'm going to try to keep some flour on it. Normally I try to make this a perfect circle, but today, after dealing with a lot of this, I'm just going to make it about 10 inches so it can have an overhang. Okay, so we got the pie crust in there. We ended up using some wax paper, rolling it out on the wax paper, putting the pie pan on top and then flipping it. And then we went around and just filled in with little pieces of dough if there was a tear. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to manipulate this pie crust like I am other pie crusts. So I wasn't able to get it long enough to go over the edge. Maybe it needs a little extra, maybe you should make a little extra pie dough so you have more room to go over the edge. I was having troubles. The thinner I rolled it out, the more it stuck and tore. So this is what the result was. I have done other pies with a different recipe for pie crust and never had a problem. Always rolls out just fine, never this sticky or difficult to work with. So I highly recommend finding a different pie crust recipe if you're having troubles with this.
I agree.
She wants us to use the other half to make a lattice, but with the difficulty that I've had, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and pour these ingredients. I've left them to the side to soak up all the juices, give it another stir, and then I'm going to fill up the pie. If you haven't done so already, incorporate the butter. I just went ahead and incorporated it in the mixing bowl, so you can do either or. And then just kind of spread it around. And it's okay if the sides are a little like that. We'll see what we can do.
Just a side note, and I think Catherine already said this already, but these are white peaches, not your standard peach.
Yeah, the original recipe called for medium peaches, but I wanted to try out the peaches that we picked. Okay, this is the other half of the dough that we set aside. I've floured the wax paper and I put a little flour on top. Now I haven't added nearly as much flour as I added to the previous one to try to work with the dough because it kept tearing on me and sticking and falling to pieces, so I had to add about 2 handfuls of flour to it, and then I eventually added maybe 2 teaspoons of water to make sure it didn't get too dried out. So this one is moldable. The only troubles I had was when I went to roll it out, so we'll see how it goes this time.
Yeah, we are really winging it on this. We're really winging it on this one, in my opinion. I'm a little surprised too. I had no idea that it was going to be so complex to make a pie. And I'm just adding my commentary while she's rolling. You know, I just saw a history of food. I just saw a history of food on the History Channel, and they talk about, you know, because Bettey Crocker is actually not a real person. Bettey Crocker is a name staple. I mean, unlike unlike Colonel Sanders, who was Harlan Sanders was a real person, but Bettey Crocker is not a real person. So there's a big difference between Harlan Sanders, who was a real person, but this is just they just put a woman, put her face, and I guess this organization got her fame, or got the, but I guess they made up the name, she's a made up person. See, Harlan Sanders was real, but anyway, the cookbook, the Bettey Crocker cookbooks came out in the 50s with their pie. Started out with their pies, and so now Catherine's going to try cutting these into laces and we're going to try to make laces for the pie. It's going to be kind of on the complicated side. But in the 50s, that's how it came out, and that's the thing is Bettey Crocker was kind of like the staple in the 50s. Cause there was no real Bettey Crocker, unlike Harlan Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken. There was no real Bettey Crocker. So that being said, we're going to try to make these laces. Catherine's adding more flour, and then she's going to start cutting the into strips so we can try to cover this into a pie. I decided to forget the lattice and just plop it on now.
We couldn't do the lattice because this is so sticky and fragile that when we manipulate it into lattice strips, you can't even roll the lattice strips up. So if you're having better luck than me, that's great, but if not, don't feel bad. It's something strange about Bettey Crocker's dough when she puts all that shortening into it. It doesn't really work the way some other options for pie crust work, so don't feel worried about it. It happens. So I'm going to do a little design around the edge. You can use a fork. It's probably not going to show up, but I thought I'd just do something creative since we don't really have a pie crust, so to speak. This is one of the options in the Bettey Crocker book to do to the pie crust. Just take a fork around the edge. And then I am going to try to put a couple slits in here since we couldn't do the lattice. If you were able to do the lattice, that's great. I'm just cutting slits in since we weren't able to do the lattice. You can do any design you want. I know some people are pretty creative. I'm just going to put some lines in. I did one long line 4 times, and then I'm doing a short line, and I did a hole in the middle, and I might do a couple lines here in between the short and the long. Alright, and I think I'm going to add, my hand's shaking a little bit, some dots here. You might have to hold on with your other hand to get it just right.
This pie is a belated Mother's Day gift. Just letting the audience know.
I think I'm going to go ahead and add a dot on the short lines as well. See here. Right here. And see here, I don't think I add. I think I'll leave it like that. But you can add as many dots as you want if you want to do a dot design or a heart or a star.
If you're creative, you could maybe make a make a symbol or something. I don't know, like a heart symbol if you're creative.
Okay, so this is the finished product. The sides of the pie are open, but that's okay. It'll still turn out great, still pull out as a pie piece. So I'm going to put it in the oven. And here we go. Put this aluminum foil around the edges of our makeshift pie crust. And it's just supposed to cover about 1 inch, just a siding. And get another piece. I'm going to fold this in half. There we go. Just kind of inching it around to cover where we put the fork marks or where your pie crust is. Okay, and one more piece. That's for 15 minutes that we do that. I also have bought silicone covers for the pie shells, the pie crust, and they work pretty good too, but I don't have any at this location. So, all right, we're going to put it in for
45 minutes.
45 minutes, and on the last 15 we take off the aluminum foil. Okay, pick this up, and here we go again. It has been 30 minutes, and I'm going to take off the tin foil. Let's see if I can use these. Alright, and then in for another 15 minutes. And I'm checking the pie to see if it is bubbling, and it's not. So I think I'm going to give it maybe I'll do another 5 minutes. I also did figure out that another option you can do for rolling out the dough is put down the wax paper, put the dough on the wax paper, then put another piece of wax paper on top, and then roll it out, and that might be easier for you. Someone came up with that idea. If you want to try that, it'll probably work.
This is the final product.
This is the pie. I did add an extra 5 minutes hoping that the juices would bubble out, but they ended up not bubbling out. But the crust And the pie are already nice and brown. I'm scared that if I put it in any longer, it will not come out right. So on the instructions it said that it would bubble out, but it didn't. But that's fine. I mean, it may just be a little bubbling here and there. Maybe that's all there is. We'll do the taste test tomorrow or Wednesday.
Wednesday, because it's for, you know, signing out.
And signing out.
Does she have
Okay,
the
so we're
blueberry?
taste testing the peach pie.
I think you have the blueberry there.
And it's really good.
Okay, this is for Mother's Day. What do you think? It's a peach pie. Well,
Very good.
Mom, what do you think? This is your Mother's Day. This is for you.
Milk or anything?
This is Mother's Day, so what do you think? Give us your opinion.
Wow,
Very good?
the white peaches.
White peaches. Okay. Someone...
Huh? What did your mom think?
Very good. This came out very good.
Good.
It came out very good, folks. And in fact, the Bettey Crocker crust tastes out better than I thought it would.
That's it for Catherine's Corner. The pie turned out great, and I'm going to make sure she gets to take the rest of it home for Mother's Day.